board Tuesday, Wednesday.
Hi, Gene.
So did you see any of the Facebook stuff that was floating around this week?
No.
Angry people about Michael Ricker, angrier people about the water and sewer building. Thank God he didn't read it. Thank God. Ugly people about the annexation. Oh my goodness. There was nothing positive. Nothing positive.
Sorry, I was going with me to Ellington, so that I don't know, is that in the back 40?
No, I stayed out of it. I thought, no. My husband's.
Let's call this committee of the whole meeting to order. And I'd like to start us out with a little history. You and your company.
Well, good evening, everyone. Here, let me sit over there so you're not cranking your neck, I guess. My name is Mark Cole. I'm work with Dave Peterson here for DLP Consultants. Been in law enforcement for not as long as Dave, but over 30 years. I began actually my career right here in Hortonville. I worked part-time for Doug Jones and then full-time way back in the early years. And I was the youngest officer in Hortonville ever work. I was 10 years old, so obviously I'm not that old now.
What is your last name, K-O-H-L?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
K-O-H-L, first name Mark.
Just for our record.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And throughout my career, I've assisted in hiring, internal investigations, making recommendations. I worked for Foxville Tech in the criminal justice program and expanded that to offer leadership program, internal investigations, assessment centers, hiring processes. I was part of the New London hiring, Luxembourg. We did the background of the chief up in New London, and I talked to their police and fire commission that has optional powers on what are their responsibilities and opportunities for the commission, which they really didn't hear or understand from the other people that they did invite to talk. So with that, the principal is David Peterson, DLP.
I myself, I was in law enforcement for about 35 years. The last 20 years was as chief of police for the Fox Valley Metro. Prior to that, I was in the Air Force for 4 years as a law enforcement specialist. And after retiring, I taught for about 5.5 to 6 years. I was in the criminal justice program. I was program chair at Colby University in Green Bay. Yeah, I started in law enforcement when I was 18 and been pretty much doing it ever since. Right now, I'm part-time substitute teaching for Pecan and Wrightstown school districts. And started a business. I hate to see, me and Mark both have a lot of knowledge together. We kind of grew up together. He started at the Little Shoe Police Department, I think a year or two after I did.
So you were 8?
Yeah, I was 8, he was 10. And as I moved up in the ranks, I kind of brought him up with me to the point where when I made chief, I made him a sergeant, then a lieutenant, and then I made him my assistant chief before he went to Fox Valley Tech for 12 years, and then he went on to, was the chief of police in Shawano. So we both have been chiefs, we both done the hiring processes, we both have a lot of knowledge, and we both have a lot of contacts, which does help. A lot of times you can, and I want you to understand something, you're not the only ones that are struggling. I'm on the village board in Little Chute, and we're currently looking for a new chief too, and they had to extend the hiring date, or the advertising date, because we weren't getting applications. When the deadline came, they had 2 qualified applicants. So you're not the only one struggling, but they hired another firm who used to be our administrator, Russ Van Gumpel, and they have no one in law enforcement in their business. And that does make a difference. We have a lot more contacts. So, back to you, Mark.
Tell us about what you'll do for us.
Well, the thing is, what kind of questions you have? I think that might be appropriate too. Some of you might not have a strong understanding what your opportunities are, or those type of things. We could start off fresh and do it all. We could review all the applicants that you have received and give you our assessment and opinion on that. We could start, but I think it's something that Dave and I spoke that we probably want to expedite it. I mean, this has been, we're uniquely informed of the history here at Hortonville. It was one that I took for stake only because I was employed years ago, but I always had a fondness for the village of Hortonville, and in fact with our favorite restaurant on South Nash Street, is something we frequent there. But we could do it all, but the question is, what would you like?
Well, speaking.
Where can we go? What are you interested, what are some pitfalls or hurdles that you've experienced that maybe we can kind of shed some light or make things a little bit clearer or easier for you to understand? Because we know the dilemmas, we know, I was talking to the village administrator before the meeting, as far as we were strong believers that any chief should cultivate through professional growth people within, if they're able to reach that pinnacle within their career, if it's someone that would have the opportunity to take over when the chief leaves, or is it something that you would like to get other qualified candidates and hear them? There's opportunities. 6213 indicates that the PFC, but in lieu of that, with the repeal of the ordinance, the village board can appoint the chief. And you can do that with just candidates from within. You would not have to advertise. You'd want to assess their abilities. If you go outside, obviously we can help you there too with advertising, but there's also, with our contacts, there's people that we know that may be interested in an opportunity like this, if we would have all the information on what your qualifications would be, and more importantly, what the salary would be. What is the ballpark figure that you're looking at, because obviously they're going to be looking at that. And they're not going to make the jump if they're not sure, or they expect they could get more, and in reality maybe they can't. We also discussed, would you consider a part-time chief, a salaried position, but that, again, opportunities if indeed you're looking more of a retired executive that could come in and it wouldn't affect his or her retirement that they're under now. So those are just some considerations. I'm sorry, Dave.
No problem. Two things I was going to say. There's one, he said a part-time chief. What that means is like 6 hours a day for 4 days a week, because of Act 10 hurt everybody. In the fact that you cannot bring back chiefs full-time that are retired now, unless those that retired back like when I did, for example. I can go back to work for government for 2,080 hours a year, it's no problem. But now if you hire one back, they can only work 1,200 hours a year. But I'm a firm believer, if we would do the process from advertising to end, some companies will get you 8 applicants or 10 applicants and bring them to you to interview all 8 or 10. My theory is we would do telephone interviews on the applicants and bring you a moderate number like 3 or 4. I don't think you should be bogged down with 8. That's why you're bringing somebody in. For you to bring someone in and we bring you 8, 10 applicants to interview, then you shouldn't have brought us in. Okay, we're here to take the bulk of the load off your back, is what we would do.
Well, the question I have is this, and I don't know, we've talked about it a little bit amongst ourselves. In the business world, and you guys are part of the business world, I've used, and I'll just call you guys headhunters, just for that term, just to make it easy. Typically, what we were told, and I guess to get straight to the point, what we were told is that your services would be some amount of money regardless of if we hired one of the people you brought in or not. Okay, that's not the case?
No, in our case, when I spoke briefly with President Habach, and it's in the
I was a couple minutes late, so if you get...
Just before we go there, I just want to clarify one thing, is we do have an option of a closed session. If we get to the point of negotiating, that is something we would want to do in closed session.
Okay, I mean, I'm asking, if you think that question should be asked in closed session, then I'm very, that's fine with me.
No, not at this point. I'm just saying that if we get into the actual dollar thing, then that should be in closed session, because that's negotiating.
Vague about money at this point.
I won't say the actual amount, but what we do is, say we bring in the 3 best applicants we found, and you interview them and you're not happy. We repeat the process, no additional charge, until you come up with an applicant. It's not going to cost you any more money if we bomb the first time around or the second time around. We're going to keep doing it until we get you some.
After the 10th time around, then...
Then you might want to look at fire.
Yeah, we don't expect that. It was the same thing, your concern and questions is the same thing the London Police Commission had when they heard from some other headhunters about emphasizing the cost, anywhere from $16,000 to $8,000. And I went in and talked to them about their options and the challenges they have, which enlightened them because they were kind of steered what the headhunters said they could do, and obviously that's their business. For us, this is more of a challenge for us to get back in and create great things for municipalities. So for us, it's not all about the money. It's for you to say, boy, we're sure glad that we asked Dave and Mark to help out because look at the candidate we found, and with their help, we're all successful in that.
Well, because typically, and again, and this is just the industry that I'm familiar with, a headhunter doesn't get paid unless we hire the person he brings us. That's just, I mean, he can bring us 100 people, and if we don't hire 100 people, if I hire every one of them, he gets paid. If I hire 0 of them, he doesn't.
Yeah, you understand our position right now is we're both retired.
I understand that.
I mean, I'm saying that money isn't
No.
a major catalyst.
So, okay.
We're both gonna get up tomorrow and our families are gonna eat, and, you know, that type of thing. We do this because it's something we enjoy.
How long have you guys done this, been in business?
DLP?
We just started.
Yeah.
You did?
Yes.
So we're basically your, if I use the term guinea pig?
Groundbreaker. I prefer groundbreaker. We've done hiring processes.
Leader.
Yeah, we've done 1 million hiring processes between us. You know, it's not nothing new to us.
We're getting real good at it, too.
No, actually, we're not.
We're getting good at
The process.
the process, let's put it that way. Yeah, because I mean, our biggest challenge is finding someone that we think fits the mold. But the bigger challenge yet is the salary, because we just don't have.
So you guys would be open to finding these applicants for us, limiting them to, let's say, 2 or 3 good candidates to start out. We would go through the interview process, and from that list of candidates, we could choose or not choose. If we decide not to choose, you go back to the drawing board and bring 3 more.
The key there, though, is communication. We would really need to know, you know, put our pulse on the feel for the pulse of the community as far as what the community is looking for, their community standards per se, what you have been through, you know, for the past year or so, what you're looking for a candidate. We'll give you our honest opinion on the qualifications you might set compared to what is the industry standard for communities this size. What is the budget for the salary? We'll give you our honest opinion and come to the understanding these are the type of candidates that you may get for those qualifications that you require, the salary that you're offering. We'll be honest with you. You know, you can't get a guy like Todd Thomas from Appleton PD to come to the village of,
Don't expect
you know, that type of thing, but just so everyone understands, and that communication is the important thing.
The problem has been, we've found a few people that we liked, and when we've offered them the job, you know, after they've thought about it, then, you know, even though we've said, we can't offer you any more than this is the money that we're offering, they come back and then they're like, well, this is gonna be too much work, or, you know, I won't have, you know, time to do this if I have to go out and do this.
I don't want to go on patrol.
Yeah.
I want to sit behind my
That's
desk.
the biggest thing.
And
We
we
want a
have-
working
we
chief.
have a working
Some of them
chief.
have said, don't want to do that, they just want to sit in the office.
My understanding is you didn't advertise the salary.
Sure we did. The first time we didn't
This
advertise.
commission said no to advertising the salary both
I thought we
times.
did.
So it wasn't until after we got the applicants that then they were called and told what the salary was.
But they still came
They
to
were
the
told.
interview.
We told them before the interview process began what the salary was.
Right, but then one of our problem was that a bunch dropped out once we told them because they weren't aware of it before they applied.
The other question, the point that Mark, I think, was making was, I didn't see your advertisement that you had, so I don't know what you had set as qualifications. But I think what he's getting at is if you set it at a master's degree, for an example, someone with a master's is going to be expecting to get a certain level of pay.
Right.
We do have our qualifications, we have modified them, we think, to fit the price range of the
Okay.
person that we're looking for. Obviously, if we would hire you guys, we would want you to take a look at that.
Right.
Tweak it for us if it needed to be
Right,
tweaked.
that was, we had discussed that.
We do have a starting point with which we've come up with.
Well, we can just put it out there, whether the last one was, we asked for bachelor's degree preferred, not required, preferred. 3 years supervisory,
And 5 years,
Of law
or
enforcement.
5 or 8 law enforcement.
that's what our last one was.
Right.
What was the minimum education, an associate's degree? Bachelor's degree?
Yeah, we
preferred?
said associates, yeah, with
Yeah.
bachelor's preferred.
Okay.
That was the second round.
Residency,
No,
No,
any limitations on distance?
no.
That's
I don't think we
huge.
can, I don't think we can.
We
Well,
can't
we
set
can't-
distance.
But we can't make them be a resident, right?
We're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, 15 miles.
We're getting way ahead of
Just
ourselves.
want to make sure.
And Al, I thought there was
So-
also going to be some discussion on just potential for interim services while we're,
Yeah, is that a possibility of interim?
Absolutely, yes.
What does that mean? What do you provide? You just got to give some schmuck off the street and say, here, you're the police chief for a couple weeks now, or? Well, I'm asking, I just want to know.
No, it'd be
Or do one of you gentlemen come in and take over for us?
you're retired, you could show
Yeah,
up.
it would generally be one of us.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
generally,
come in and give that structured leadership, that historical experience leadership, and at the same time, you're virtually a sponge. Listening to the troops, village, community members, board, Diane, on what you've seen, because there's things tonight you may not be able to ask, or you forget, but there's other things that as we communicate, because that's the key thing, is communicating to find out where's the ideal candidate.
But if we want to fast track this, I mean, in your estimation, how quickly can you guys get 3 qualified people in front of us to interview?
I was gonna say the only drawback is you do need a period of time to advertise, if we're gonna advertise.
I'm.
But after that,
Yeah, no, I'm talking about tonight, if we hire you, are we looking at 1 week, 3 weeks, 3 months? Your estimation, I'm not holding you down to a specific.
if we advertised for a month, I had broke it down, and then we fast-tracked it from that point, you'd be interviewing probably May 8th at your board meeting.
So now, what about these investigations that we do? Do you do those investigations then?
The backgrounds?
So that when we get this candidate in here, we don't have any surprises like we have in the past?
So if you wish us to, we can do the backgrounds, we'd be more than happy to. We have done backgrounds throughout our career, and I've assisted in backgrounds with Luxembourg and London. So I mean, yeah, we can do that.
I think that's a good idea, because then we're not wasting time.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing too, to wait on. A lot of candidates maybe seem favorable, but their backgrounds is really a true telling of what their history is like.
And one advantage you do have with the interim chief is we're open, it's a little wider for us to find someone because you don't have to be state certified. You have 1 year to certify, so you can bring in an interim chief that's retired, that has been out of law enforcement for more than 3 years. Once you're out 3 years, you lose your certification. But you don't have to be certified for the first year. So that's where you see like Jim Lewis from Green Bay PD was doing interim jobs everywhere.
So we'd be looking at an interim for about 2 months until we had somebody to hire in front of us, possibly 3.
and I don't think it would need to be somebody full-time. I guess what I picture, what I would like to see, personally, some relief from is the administration part of it, both Brian and myself, because that's been a year going. So, I think we're doing a good job of keeping things going. It's just that it's been a long year.
Yeah, for
So
Brian,
you
it's
got
been-
20 hours.
And since the first of the year, it's been harder on Brian because he's been working the school as SRO over there, as well as the officer in charge over here, so.
Well, not to scare you, if it's gonna be for like 2 months and it's just administrative, you're probably gonna get stuck with me then. So, just to forewarn you. That might make you wanna go in a different direction.
So do we, to jump ahead because we've got 12 minutes, do we have a proposal that we need to talk about, or they need to put a proposal in front of us now that they know what we're looking for?
Well, there's a lot of questions too. How much do you want us to get involved?
We want you
Maybe 10?
to bring 3
Three
qualified
applicants.
candidates to us that we don't necessarily have
From
to
outside.
be concerned about a background check on after we like one of them.
Okay.
Okay, that's a set up area, but then if you had interim, that interim would be separate from,
Those are, we're talking about two separate things.
okay.
Okay, then the question is, how, do you want the candidates to have a meet and greet with the community? Is it just the village board?
We'll take it from the hire. You bring them to us and we can take it from the hire.
Then it could be as simply as ask for applications, do initial phone interviews, look at the qualifications, their applications, things like that. Select
3 at the top.
3 at the top, you interview.
Yep.
Once you think this is it, create that person that you'd like to go to. We do expedite the background checks from financial to residential to work history, and say, yeah, this is good, here's the report. And then you give them, obviously you give them a conditional offer, and then they would still have to go through medical, psychological,
Drug.
and drug screen. And once all that's completed, they're yours.
So that's, and then we would be looking for, as an addenda to that, the cost for an interim chief. Are we talking about just administrative? Are we
Maybe
talking
20
about
hours a week.
20 hours a week, ish.
Take some of the load off Diane and Mark. Brian.
For the next 2 to 3 months.
I do have a proposal written up for the hiring process, that part. I did bring one with to be safe. We can hand that stuff out, and then you can go into your closed session or whatever you want to do.
I think we need to hand it out in closed session because that's going to have dollar values, I'm assuming, and that's a
Yes.
negotiating part, so I believe we would need to go into closed
Do it.
session for
Okay.
that.
Do you want us to
Make that
remain?
motion. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Whatever that.
Roll.
I